Some stories weren't meant to be told.
Hey, I'm MARVIN-PAUL, and this is Big Sis.
MARSHA Ambrosius.
And this is Ghosts of Our Past, but this isn't the first episode, guys. We had to actually lay this down. This is an introduction. So we're going to actually just let you guys know why we're doing this series and what it's about and how it came about and why it's important to us. So Marsh, take it away.
So we've had several conversations regarding this podcast, more importantly, wanting to disclose these stories for ourselves. It's a pandemic, we've had time, and we've stumbled upon more information that we anticipated regarding a house that we used to live in Camberwell, South London, when we were kids. So we moved from Liverpool to London, and the house that we lived in Camberwell for almost 11 years was absolutely haunted. And 100% haunted. Not only haunted, but we would discover within the weeks leading up to these episodes that you're about to experience, that the current residents have stories of their own still in that same house. And that validated our need to not only want to share amongst a community of people that haven't had these conversations. These are complete strangers to us. We haven't lived there in over 30 years.
And that's a long time. That is a long time.
An extreme long time. So we wanted to be able to kind of bring you in on the backstory of not only how we got there, how we ended up staying there, what happened while we were there, but what's now happening after. You know, like I said, within the past 30 years, I've had vivid dreams, nightmares about this house. And on top of that, we had extremely positive experiences during that time, like some of the best years of our lives, a fantastic childhood. And at the same time, there were these things that were happening that we couldn't explain, with parents that were receptive and positively receiving our stories as valid and true, coming from their children, that we're imaginative and we're kids, but we had stories where that kind of took them aback, and our mother having paranormal experiences of her own, and our father being, our stories being validated. Absolute skeptic, but he found the truth by ways of strangers too. So it wasn't that these stories that we were telling were just our own, they were shared experiences. So we wanted to do this podcast so we could share this with you. So Marvin, if you could please tell the people what happened leading up to this particular episode.
All right. Now, what you guys have got to understand is that obviously it's very personal, the things that we're talking about now. These aren't things that you just bring up in a random conversation. The only way it's ever brought up is if somebody sees my tattoo and asks me what it is, and I tell them what that is. All will be revealed. So me and Marsha having the conversations about what happened, just trying to bring some of the stories together, see if there's any synergy, see if there's any kind of coincidence between them. So I'm dropping my daughter to my aunt's house, and then I'm basically gonna go pick her up.
So this would have been like a month ago. By the time this aired, this would have been a month ago.
Yeah, this would have been about a month ago from now.
Right.
Hence the reason why the turnover time is really fast, guys. Because I basically said, all right, I'm going to stop the car. I'm going to park in the car park where we used to always play every single day. I've probably stepped in there twice in the last 30 years. So that was weird in itself.
Yeah.
As a grown man standing where a child of me once stood.
Right, playing football, rounders,
cutting my hand, skateboarding, everything. Yeah. So So what I did was I said, let me just get some B-roll footage of the house and just take some pictures, some videos. And as I'm doing a video going into the walkway, I'm just going closer. I'm starting to feel a bit eerie, like this is really strange. And I'm thinking, I'm going to FaceTime MARSHA in a minute. So I then look up and there's these people at the top. They were people. And as I'm, they definitely were. And then as I'm filming, they ask, excuse me, what are you doing? And I said, oh, sorry, I'm just filming because I used to live here. I actually lived in number 14 and I lived in number 2A with my sister and my mum. And I'm explaining myself and they say, oh, why are you filming? So I explain that I'm thinking of I'm actually doing a podcast, and I said, it's supernatural. You might not be interested in it. And the guy turned around and said, it's still happening, bro. When he said that, the chills that came off the back of my neck, I froze and went nuts and said, excuse me, one moment. I FaceTime you straight away, Marsha, immediately. Once I FaceTime you, I said, please repeat what you just said. And he said it, and Marsha's face turned white and was like, oh my God, it's still happening.
It was a jaw dropper. It was, because it was in that moment. It's all those stories being about, 5 or 6 years old to age 14, 15, all those stories. Once they said what they said, it made all those stories true, whether it was just our personal experiences or not. Now we weren't alone with it. Now it wasn't exclusive to just us. And if you could tell the people what he actually said pertaining to the haunting.
Now, this is where it gets even more spooky, where we're going to go into it in our episodes. He said it's still going on. I asked him to be specific. So he said, oh, you still hear children playing at night? I'm like, what, in the back? I'm saying in the back. He's like, yep, you still hear it. I'm like, and then he explains about in the house, there's a presence, a vibe, there's noises going on, even though there's nothing going on outside. And then he said he's been writing poems for the last 10 years about his experiences of the house.
Wow.
I was just like, what? And then I said to him, is there any way we can get together and have a chat? He then turns around and says, oh, I'll get a bunch of the neighbors to come. I said, what do you mean the neighbors? He goes, oh, no, it's not just me. Like, there's a whole bunch of us.
Building. So
the whole building. So you need to picture, I'm thinking Ghostbusters right now. Sigourney Weaver, Bill Murray. Yeah. This building has a problem.
Yeah.
And all of them are involved and experiencing it and still live there as grown adults. I'm not talking to the child versions of
us, right. Yeah.
I'm talking to the grown. He was about 50.
Yeah.
And that's what made it even worse. I was just like, this is a grown man telling me that my experiences as a child and Marsha's experiences, my mum's, they weren't just real, they're still carrying on. And then that led me to feel a bit, would I even walk back in the house?
Yeah.
If I was invited in. I got worried he was going to invite me in. And I was just kind of like, wait a second, I'm a grown man. Why would I ever think about being scared to be invited in? But just to bring it back to where we're going, this is why we are here right now. Because I'm like, I'm sorry, there's something bigger than us, way bigger. I've always known that. But with this now, it's something that's like, I've always said, when you die, you go somewhere. Right. Something happens. And I think you have a choice of what you want to do. There's something you want to do. This is my beliefs. You have a choice. And some people chose to stay. That's it.
What you think. Yeah.
That's it. I think some people were like, you know what? This is where I live, and I'm gonna continue living here with minimal disruption. But if you're someone that picks up on vibes, you're someone that picks up on energy, you're the people that feel it. And that can't be escaped. Some people will go somewhere and not feel anything. I've walked into houses as an adult and gone, I won't even go to the toilet here because because the vibe is wrong. Like the vibe is just wrong. So I'm like, there's just something. And I'll say to my wife, something's really off about this house that we're in. I don't like it. Like I'm pretty much.
And
I'm
that gut feeling, feeling is never wrong. It never is.
Yeah,
and
I'm either staying in the same room or I'm just gonna be with the kids the whole time. And like I'm not acting weird, but I'm very weary of my and wary of my surroundings.
Right. So just so we're clear, I did some research on
now
the area, only because now it's been validated by people who still live there now, and I feel like because of the time frame it was, we couldn't Google. It's 1983, you know. So these are things that I could now Google, and I didn't think or even want to. I didn't want to find any answers, but I did. So I'll give you one example, which is the Surrey Canal children. Now,
that's what he actually told us. That's what he told me to read. He said, go online and look at this. That's the guy that lived upstairs. He said, and the woman was with him, said, go and look at the Surrey Canal and research that, and it will give you all the reason into what's happening.
So what I found out is the Surrey Canal was the end of the River Thames. The River Thames canals used to end in Camberwell. So anybody who's lived in South London, all of the parks, whether that's Burgess Park, Ruskin Park, Mitesfield Park, we'd have our swing sets, slides, and adventure playgrounds. But back then, basically, kids were making adventure playgrounds of their own pirate ships and all of these things. So it was joyful. However, the catch is there were a lot of deaths reported because of drownings in the canals. So you're talking about washed up bodies of children in our area. So the haunting that we're experiencing in our home, there's so many things that are attached to that also, but hearing the kids at night, and we're talking about 3 a.m, pitch black, no noise, but the sound of can't see anything, and you can hear kids playing. Another small story, which we won't need an entire episode on, but as it pertains to this, our parents separated and we used to stay at our dad's weekends. And one weekend, my brother and I were staying at our dad's, and mum had company over, had people coming in from Liverpool. They stayed, and that night, spent the night. The next morning, her friends or family said, Cookie, you're going to have to tell your kids to not come in the room to play with the toys at night. And we weren't there, you know, and mum held on to these stories for years for the protection of us both, because she didn't want to scare us with it. Because I feel like at no point did I feel like there was an evil. There was just a presence, a very heavy, strong presence. And that was one example of the stories, but one that stuck out to me because I think mum didn't share that to me until I was way in my 20s, I think. I'd moved to America
and
by then.
Again, it was still in passing.
Yeah, exactly.
We never sat down and said, can we just have a real conversation about this?
Yeah.
But we'll
get into that.
All of us just kind of, and that's, guys, to be honest, just letting you know now, we haven't done that yet. We've had conversations.
Yeah, we haven't had the talk.
Our mother was a grown woman. So her experiences are her own, and we don't know what that means as a grown woman. So we can't wait to find out from her. Yeah. And hopefully she can get it out, because I know me as an adult.
So yeah, I'm looking at, you know, most of the research from that, the Surrey Canal kids, and just saying that there are no kids visible sometimes, some apparitions, yes, but you can hear splashing water, jumping, you can hear wood where there isn't wood if it's brick, but you can
There was no water back there.
Yeah, there's no water or anything back there. And they're saying, you know, Burgess Park is haunted eternally by the playing of these children. And
what was in Burgess Park, Marsh? What did they build in Burgess Park purposely?
The adventure playground. Anyone that's been in South London or grew up when we did knows Burgess Park.
Ruskin Park had the big, massive pirate boat.
Yeah. The pirate boat as well. Yeah.
Why is that? We know why. Commemorating those children.
there is validity to that, just because we know, even us being the late 70s, early 80s kids, that's what we did. We went to the park adventure playgrounds. We were swinging off of ropes and bashing each other's heads in occasionally, and hopefully we didn't die. But we're talking about kids that were reported drowned because of these things. And the building that we were in, built in 1897 by the Manet brothers, is it? French. They were French, and they owned a lot of the land around there.
1891 was when our building was built.
Okay.
Just put that into context, it's 2020. 1891.
And there's still an 1891 building that we lived in, and all that
it's still
time there. And has an emblem with a cat. And I used to have nightmares about cats for some reason, for like, I don't know.
Oh, we'll share that picture. I'm sure we'll have that on the YouTube. We'll share that one.
There's a bunch of stuff, and I'm glad for ourselves that we've decided to do the research and to have the conversation with our parents that we need to have. I feel like for Mum in particular, when we found out about the current residents and their experiences, I was glad to share that with Mum, because these are adults also. She couldn't share it with us because we were only kids at the time, but these are adults that are going through it now. So it was like, Mum, you weren't crazy. We weren't crazy. Thank goodness. Like, these weren't just things that were happening to us. You know what I mean?
Have you ever told a story so many times that you start to think to yourself, did I make that up?
Marv, I'm like,
have you ever done that? But then this became one of those experiences because I was hoping I was making it up sometimes, Marv, to make sure that I could live not being scared.
Yeah.
So it was like reverse psychology.
It was like, oh, that's a movie. Yeah. It was like, that was a movie I watched.
How am I going to play mind games with myself and me not to think something's real? Like, it's like,
which is so bad, but necessary because of how old we were. So to compartmentalize all of the haunting experiences that we did have, to put. Have you seen Dr. Sleep yet?
No, you told me about it.
So it's literally putting these stories in these treasure chests and chaining them up. But at the end of the day, they're still in there. We've locked them away, even stuff that we've discovered over the past week. And when we moved to London, Matthew being your best friend of, still to this day, this is 40 years of friendship. And literally 40 years of friendship, and he remembers us telling him about the lady that lived in the house.
And he's not talking about a literal lady. He's talking about someone that we could see.
Yeah, it's a ghost. We told him a ghost story. I've put that away, but I do have a story attached to what I thought that could be. Maybe, but not really. I don't remember disclosing that to Matthew. Matthew was younger than me by 3 years, so it still felt like you were my little kids, and I'm like, I'm trying to protect you. So where Mum is trying to protect me, the next chain of command is I'm big sis. I've got to make sure that you lot are okay. And I guess it got too overbearing at the time, and we had to tell somebody, because at the end of the day, we'd moved from Liverpool away from our close family and close friends, and being that young anyway, our circle's this big. So when we've attached to Matthew and his mum and his older brother, it's, oh my God, we're not alone. Please let us tell our stories. And we haven't even realized how many times we've done that. So for this podcast to now be available to not only whoever wants to hear it, but people who lived in London at the time, or knew us, or were around, to kind of understand those experiences in some type of way would really, really, really help.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned on the intro, is just that this is our story, but what we really want to do is tap into your stories as well. Yeah. We want to hear from you, and if there is any synergy between living in that area in Camberwell and someone telling us the same things, obviously it's going to be like, what do you do with that information first of all? But the first thing you do, I feel like it's always a good therapy to find out that what you're thinking is good, like it's healthy.
Yeah.
So like I can actually then store it somewhere that goes, okay, we weren't alone. Like I wasn't just sitting there like scared out of my mind. It was like, no, I was like human. It was fine. It was fine to be that scared.
And
but
that's the whole point.
Exactly. And sometimes, guys, there's some episodes we're going to have where there's things that I only said out loud for the first time in probably 30 years a couple of weeks ago to Marsh, which I'd never said, and she knew, but I never said it because it's one of those things I didn't want to admit it verbally, but I will say it, not now, but in that episode I will say it because it's like, oh my god, you did what? How could your mother, how could she let you do this? But it's disclosing, she didn't know.
It's disclosing personal, extremely personal stories about that part of our childhood, and understanding that we buried them in a way where we added a level of normalcy to us. So where our cousins, whether it's Nat, Warren, like them having their experiences, or Auntie Beryl or Nana, like whoever had a story within the family, it was ours. So we could share in our own safe space. But what it felt like when we went out into the world, it's like, you lot don't know that when I come to school and I go to St. John the Divine Church, and then we go to St. John the Divine School, primary school, and we do our lessons, and then we go to play center, to CASP. And then I feel like all of these activities, that's without basketball practice. It's getting home around 8 o'clock, 8:30. And it's you filled all this space during the day. And it's like, well, we're trying to do all these things to not go home. But by the time we got home, it's dinner time, it's bath time, it's dinner time, and then it's trying to minimalize how much time you've got to spend there.
And you know, you forget, Marsh, do you know what? We never spent that much time, because guess where we were all the time? Play center.
So
straight after school's play center. So that was about 3.5 hours not in the house and 2 hours awake.
True.
So it makes you wonder.
Like mum put that together. Mum was responsible with Carmen and everybody founding a place for the kids to be, while, you know, we have working parents. So it's mum, dad working their tails off, and we needed somewhere to go. So they created a safe space, because I don't know if you remember this. It used to be in a house right opposite our old house.
You said that. I don't remember.
That was when we were really young. Until we got an actual building or used the actual school, it was someone's house. And that might have been for a couple of months, but then it builds. And then we get a school, and it's the school next to Warner Road by Beaters with that newsagent on the corner.
That's still there. That newsagent's still there.
That's crazy. And I'm remembering all of these things, even when it came to documenting that house. My 10th birthday, we definitely have it all on video, but we haven't watched it with these eyes, you know. And even looking for pictures of us in the house, I can only recall a handful. Yet we had a bag of negatives. Sorry for you kids that don't understand about, you know, selfies. And you used to have to take a reel of film and develop it. It was really old school.
Bring it into a place to get it developed.
And then you'd be waiting.
A lot of money. It wasn't even cheap. It was a lot of money. It was like £17.
Or one of them things. And I remember mum getting bags and bags of pictures, and we'd be going through them, and it would be a lot of them that just wouldn't come out. They just looked like they had blurred. I'm like, who took that one? And we would just sift through them, not necessarily looking at what the composition was as a whole, but just, can't see me there. Didn't even want to look at what I was actually looking at. And I thought about that last night when I called you. I was like, all of them bags of negatives. And I used to sit there looking at them in the light, like, what is that? And you couldn't work it out, and they were never developed.
There are some pictures I can still see, actually, that I remember.
That worries me a little bit. I'm a bit concerned about that. And as many photo albums or family photo albums that we did have, I can only recall a bunch. For 11 years, we're talking about 11 years, I can only recall main events, a birthday or Christmas, or barely. I don't even remember Christmas pictures in there.
The in-betweens are far in between.
Yeah.
That's what's really strange. Like like you couldn't say to me February, March, what happened?
Yeah,
It's for some
not a
reason
picture.
everything's eventful. A birthday, Christmas, Halloween's nothing to do with it because I remember one Halloween in 14 Orchard House. I remember when we were bobbing for apples.
Oh,
But
yeah. That's in the kitchen.
That's the only one. And I think that is tied. The only reason why is because I think that's tagged to my burnt leg when I burnt my leg. So I think that's the only reason why I remember that, because it was a part of the event, if that makes sense.
Right.
That's how I never story people.
Yeah, it's just, all of it's just a bit strange, but
this is an intro show. Like me, we're going to talk forever, Marsha, on this. So.
Yeah, no. This is it. This is absolutely all we need for this part. And guys, I'm just telling you, please just ghostofourpastuk@gmail.com. Hit us up if you were in the South London area of sorts, or you've had any paranormal experience. We'd love to hear from you. This is a shared experience. It just is. And my obsession with watching these shows, like, I don't understand how they go in there and do all the investigations. By no means do I think I even have it in me to want to go back in this house to feel anything. But I think what transpires from this is the curiosity for people to actually want to go and see. And even the people that you spoke to, I'm hoping that you spoke to them at the house, for them to reach back out and we really sit with what they're experiencing now. I feel like that will further validate how we're feeling, and they get to, it's almost like mum got to experience it as an adult. So her rationale, her way to make sense of it all was different from us to process this and go, we were this young. Mum, I don't know if I'm still mad at you because you told me in my 20s what I was experiencing, all these stories that I was telling you when we were that age. Now you're telling me I wasn't crazy. Thanks. Thanks.
Exactly. But you know what? Like it's a lot of things are going to be unraveled. A lot of things are going to be definitely, I would say, put to bed, put to rest, and discovered. There's a lot of discovery going on with this podcast, but I want, again, everybody that listens to this, like, share it, tell your friends. There's going to be people that are going to tell you stories that you'd never even would have known that they had. So this is going to bring another part out of everyone you know as well, but we want that. That's exactly what we want from you, and we're going to give you our story, but we want to hear yours. First episode, guys, remember, is the 31st of October, Halloween. It just has to come out on that day. Tune in, share it, Spotify it. Goop merch coming soon. Like, honestly, we're going in, people. We're going in.
We have to.
So, like,
this is going to be a journey for us both, and I'm hoping that we reach some people that this can help, because I'm glad we have the help now. But
but on the real, Marsh, if there was anybody I'd had to do this journey with, it would have been you. Thank you, sis.
Thank you, bro.
She really looked after me. So, like, what can I say, man?
Thanks, bro. Like,
all right, man. All right, well, people, 31st, Halloween, we got this. First episode, first sighting. Peace.
Goop.